5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello everybody, it's Suri. Welcome back to the TBR Diaries. Welcome to another weekly reading vlog. Welcome to the sirens outside my window. It's already Tuesday, but I think I started last week's vlog on a Wednesday, so I guess we're doing alright. I am gonna dive straight into it. I'm currently reading, this is the only book I'm currently reading. This is The Second Rebel by Linden Lewis. This is the second book in this series. What is the name of this series? I don't know if there's like a title for this series, but anyway, it is the sequel to The First Sister. I am 154 pages through this 500-page book. I'm listening to the audio. The audio is really good. It's got a couple of different, and for the first one it's the same, it's got several different voice actors for different perspectives, which I always really enjoy because it's just an additional way to remember who is talking. I'm really enjoying this. I read the first book last week. I really like it. It is a sci-fi. It's about rebellion and loyalty to like ideals as well as groups and people and how those things can conflict and sort of change. Without giving anything away from the first book, this book has added some new and interesting things. The first book was very much following a couple of people who were on either side of this war that's going on, potentially looking for peace, potentially not. And then in this book we've sort of added more complexity, which makes a lot of sense when you think about the structure of a book series, but it's adding sort of more complexity, more nuance maybe, and just sort of more complication, because of course nothing is ever straightforward, and rebellion would be included in that. We also have an additional perspective. We have the perspective of the sister of one of the original perspectives. I don't know anyone's names, I'm sorry. And that's really interesting because the first book was very much like out where the action is, and then this sister, who is an additional perspective, she's sort of back home and looking at things from that more like outward perspective, but also feeling the impacts, and it sort of shows how far-reaching these things can be. I don't know if that made any sense. It made sense in my head, but possibly not out loud. I'm not feeling the best and my brain is not working at full capacity. So I'm going to leave that there, but I expect I'll finish this week. I think I've got 8 hours left in the audiobook at the speed that I listen to, so that's definitely doable. And I will of course keep you posted. Okay, there's 2 weeks left in October, so I feel like that's a chunky book for each week. And then Certain Dark Things is quite short, and I've actually got four volumes of Monstrous, but I only grabbed the first one. That hurts. I think I'm going to go with this week. I think I'm going to read The Jasmine Throne. This is fantasy. It has some nature magic or plant magic, I think. I think there's some revolution in there. I know that it's sapphic, but I think at least in this book, it's not like a happy sapphic story. I don't know if they hate each other or if they're just on opposite sides of this revolution or like some other reason. I will read and find out and tell you. That's the whole point of these vlogs. But I am looking forward to this. I do have the sequel, so I'm hoping that I like it, because otherwise I've bought a special edition of the sequel for no reason. So I'm gonna leave it there because you know how I love to talk, and I will catch you later. She's only got a bloody resigned. What a day. Hi, this is a reading up. Well, it's not actually a reading update because I've not done much reading, but I've just filmed a video and I felt that while I was sat in front of the camera, I ought to do a vlog update. I spent a wild day in politics for the UK. Jesus Christ. I'm not going to get into it here on this channel where I chat shit about books. This is not the place for politics. But it's been, well, it's an absolute shit show, isn't it? I just filmed my end of the year book tag. And actually I lied, I do have a little bit of reading update. I can't be bothered to grab my book. The Second Rebel, whatever it's called, my brain is shot. The Second Rebel, I'm continuing. I'm enjoying it a lot. It doesn't feel as exciting as the first book did. I still am enjoying it, but I think it's kind of, there was a bit more suspense about a couple of things in the first book, and in this second book it's feeling a little more like we're kind of getting into some of the like politics, and there's a little bit more like political, wow, I can't speak, like maneuvering and being like clever with politics, which is just a different vibe, isn't it? So I'm still enjoying it, but it's definitely less fast-paced and it's also a longer book, so it is feeling a little bit slower in general, but I am really enjoying it. I think I'm coming up to halfway through, maybe. That might be a complete lie. It's hard to tell with an audiobook, isn't it? But anyway, that's where I'm at with that. I have technically started the Jasmine Throne, and I've read, oh god, I'm 12 pages in. I'm 12 pages into the Jasmine Throne. This is like 530 pages long, so I've barely started. All I can say is that I like the writing style. I've never read any Tasha Suri before. I've got Empire of Sand, I think it's called, on my Kindle. I've not read it, but I've heard good things about her writing, but I've never read any before. And having read 13 pages, I like it so far. That's about all I can say. I have no idea what's going to go on. We had a prologue, which was a little bit, you know, vague and foreshadowy and dramatic. We have met Priya, who is a maidservant. The blurb on this book says it's about a princess and a priestess, so I assume she's the priestess, and that's maybe a little bit secretive and mysterious. I don't know, I will find out. I think I maybe need to buy the Kindle edition of this because this hardback is really heavy, and I think that's why I haven't been picking it up. I will read something and then I will tell you about it at a later date. I really like having the flowers in my background. I might have to get into a quite expensive habit of buying myself flowers. These were actually a gift from my sister when I most recently saw her as a congratulations for my uni result. But anyway, it's Saturday. I'm going to give you a reading update because that is the whole point. Full disclosure, I didn't actually read very much yesterday because yesterday was Friday the 21st. It was my brother's birthday. And it was also Taylor Swift's new album release date, so I spent most of my spare time listening to the new album, which I'm obsessed with. It might be my favourite Taylor Swift album. I just like the production and the synthy sonics, as well as her like cadence in half of the lyrics. I'm just obsessed with the way it sounds. Like, it feels so good to listen to. But you didn't come here for my Taylor Swift opinions. You came here for my thoughts on my books. So I will update you on The Second Rebel. Because actually, having said all that, I did listen to quite a good chunk, and I'm now on page 332 out of about 500 pages. So I'm well over halfway through. And I think the last thing I said was that I was enjoying it, but I wasn't as gripped by it as I was by the first book. And that's still true. I think the issue that I'm having to like connect with it is that there's now like 4 different perspectives and they're all in different places, so it feels just a little bit disparate. Is that the right word? Like, it just feels harder to connect with anything that's going on because it almost feels like there's too much, not too much happening, but just I don't feel like I'm getting nearly as much time in each place as I was in the first book, because there was a couple of different perspectives in the first book, but there was 2 kind of places that we were shifting between, so it felt a lot more compact. Isn't the word I'm looking for either. I don't know the word I'm looking for. It was easier for me to follow, and I was used to that in the first book, and I think that's what kept it so exciting, is because there weren't as many different plot threads to follow as there are in this one, because have we got 4 perspectives? Yeah, there's 4 different perspectives in this book. And it's just, I'm not having trouble following. Like, it's not difficult to follow. It just feels different than the first book. That's what I'm saying, essentially. And I think now that I know this is the middle book in a trilogy, that makes a bit more sense. And I think if I still thought this was the like final book, if it was just a duology, I would be really struggling with this. But knowing that there's a 3rd book to come, I think it's basically just got a bit of like middle book syndrome going on. But I am invested in what's going on, and I'm still really enjoying it. It's just not quite as exciting as the first book. But yes, I realise I'm not telling you what's actually happening in this book, but it's a sequel, so I feel like I can't, especially because it's quite political, and it would be, you'd either need to have read the first book to know what I'm talking about, and if you haven't, you probably don't care, or it would be spoilers, so I'm just going to leave it at that. And I did read a little bit more of The Jasmine Throne last night, but like I say, I spent most of my time listening to Taylor Swift. But I'm on page 75, and there's over 500 pages in the book, so I'm still very early days with it. But I'm really liking it. We've met both of the kind of main characters now. There is also a 3rd perspective who is mysterious and intriguing, possibly a bad guy. Maybe I'm just supposed to believe that for the time being. I'll find out. But that's definitely giving me some more insight into the magic in this world. And the magic system in this world is looking really, really interesting. It's looking quite like influential to the plot. It's definitely not like a historical with some fantasy. It's a historical fantasy. The magic system seems really prominent to the characters, to the actions, to the plot. I'm very excited to see where this is going to go. I've never read any Tasha Suri before, but I'm really liking the writing style in this. That is not going to be any kind of a problem. It's quite like nice and descriptive, and it's giving me some quite like vivid scenes, but it's not overly flowery or purple prose or taking too long to describe like a single leaf catching the sunlight over the whatever, you know? Like I say, I'm only 75 pages in, so not too much to say at this stage, but I kind of want to finish this weekend, which is maybe a very stupidly ambitious goal because it's already sort of midday on Saturday and I can feel how tired I am. I'm going to put this down because it's heavy. But there's been overnight roadworks going on just across the street and it's been really loud. It's been keeping me up. It's been keeping me awake. I've been sleeping really badly. So I don't know if I can read 450-ish pages of a book this weekend. That doesn't sound like that many pages, actually. I'm insane. I'm gonna just stop and call that my vlog update for today. I just finished the second Rebel and I may never be okay again. Okay. I did film an update clip this morning and I immediately have like somehow lost the footage. Never mind. So let's see. I don't remember at what point I was in this book when I last did an update on this book, but I was saying that it felt a little bit not slow, just like there were too many pieces to keep track of, and I was struggling with keeping track a little bit. There was just one too many perspectives in one too many places, and of course it being the second book in the series, some new things were introduced. There was this synthetic population of like artificial intelligence robots, I guess, because cyborg is when there's like a organic component, right? And I think these were pure artificial. More political stuff. Like there was quite a lot being introduced in this book and we went in too many different places, and then I hit the 70% mark. Shit hit the fan, shit got very exciting and stuff started to come together, and characters, or maybe not the characters themselves so much, but their storylines started to interact and it all got a lot tighter and it all got a lot more exciting. And then from about that 70% mark onwards, this book has not let up. I am so upset by some of the things that happened in this book. This book did not pull its punches. I'm a little bit devastated, and then with a couple of things that were revealed at the end, I'm still devastated, but now I'm like excited for the third book. The third book comes out in November of this year. For some reason I thought it came out next year, so I might end up getting the audio for it when it comes out and listen to it really soon because I need answers. I need to know what happened. I really love this book series. I just finished it literally 2 minutes ago, so I don't have a lot of coherent thoughts yet. Just this was really, really good, and the last 30% more than made up for the issues I was having with the narrative earlier. It was never bad, it was never boring, it was just not quite as like tightly written as the first book, and I am really excited for the third book because unless I'm wrong again, this is a trilogy, so the third installment is going to be the final installment, and I'm feeling a lot of feelings. Right, I'm going to have a sip of my tea and I'm going to try and calm down. There are some things that I really want to discuss, but they would be major, major spoilers for both the first book and also events that happen in this book before the end. So I'm not going to discuss in any detail. What I will say is the character of the first sister, who is the titular character in the first book, also is in this book. A lot of shit goes down with her character and her storyline. And her storyline is the only one that I'm not sure about. I feel like she's had, I don't know, something about her character doesn't quite make sense, and I think there are reasons for that that have been revealed towards the end of this book, and it depends how it plays out in the third book, but I'm not entirely convinced by her character. Everyone else in this book is incredible, and like I say, I'm heartbroken. I am absolutely devastated. Not many books can completely like emotionally floor me like that, and this, it kind of came out of nowhere. Not in like a badly written narrative sense, just like emotionally it came out of nowhere. Like the stakes are high in this book, and you know, the odds are not always in your favour, sort of a thing. I think that's all I'm going to say about this book for the time being, but it was good, it was good. I never see anybody talk about these books. Maybe I'm just missing like a section of booktube that has been talking about this series, but if you've read The First Sister, if you've read The Second Rebel, like, come and talk to me about them, because I have so many things I want to say. I have so many questions. If you haven't read them, read them and then talk to me, because that would be fun. But anyway, I'm going to put that down. Okay, I'm going to give you a little update on the Jasmine throne. I am now on page 111, so I did not read as much of this as I wanted to. I'm really liking this. I think the writing style is absolutely gorgeous. I think I said yesterday, it's not overly like flowery or overly descriptive to the point where it gets in the way of the narrative, of the plot, of the characters. But it is beautifully written. I really like the writing style. It's very like evocative of some very vivid images, and I'm really enjoying the writing itself. The story, I think, is actually quite politically complex. Or I'm just quite stupid. Either one. But there's several factions. It's politics, as in like kind of courtly politics, because the princess main character, her brother is the emperor, and he has locked her up for reasons that are not entirely clear at this point. The prologue at the very start of this book, you see the emperor kind of condemning her to death by burning herself in a pyre, which she refuses to do. And I think that would have been the like noble thing for her to do, and she refuses, and so she is now being kept locked up in this temple, not allowed to interact with anybody, by her brother, and I presume more kind of punishment is coming. I think I've said before that I think the magic system in this is like plant-based or nature-based, and I think we've got a little bit of a glimpse in that in some of the references to like a previous age and what I guess would be like an old gods kind of a trope, like spirits kind of a thing. Maybe that could also be wrong. There's a lot going on. There's a lot unfolding in terms of political rivalries and people who want power and people who are looking out for other people, and it all comes down to these conflicting ideologies. And I think a lot of that is like religious ideology, but that has not been fully explained yet. It's kind of unraveling as you go through the story. I'm going to try and read a little bit more of this evening. It's actually only about 4:30. It's just so dark and gloomy and rainy outside that I thought it was later. But I'm going to finish my cup of tea, I'm going to read a little bit more, and then hopefully I can give you something a little bit more coherent about this book before I wrap up this vlog. But safe to say, so far I'm enjoying it. Morning pals, as predicted, it is in fact Monday, but I do have a reading update for the Jasmine Throne before I finish up last week's reading vlog. So I am now on page 172, and this is so good. This just keeps getting like more interesting and more intriguing as it goes on. As I've mentioned, the two main perspectives are the kind of two main characters, the princess and the maidservant. But there are a couple of other perspectives that we get occasional chapters from, which I like when books do this. Like, you have your main perspectives, but you do occasionally get like other perspectives just to give you some more of what's going on without the main characters needing to know about it, but you get like a direct view of the thing. I prefer that to when situations are kind of contrived so that the main characters see things, and that just feels a little bit awkward sometimes, but this is a much better way of doing things, in my opinion. The eternal question that I ask myself when I'm doing these reading vlogs is how much to say, because I don't personally mind too much about spoilers because I'm so forgetful that it's probably not gonna bother me anyway. But I know that a lot of people obviously do care about spoilers and want to be able to go into a book without knowing anything, and I don't want to unintentionally spoil things. So I'm going to keep things on the more vague and more brief end of the spectrum. But from Priya, the maidservant's side of things, a lot of the people that she knows and that she's interacted with are much more closely intertwined than it appears at first, and there's a lot of, not like secret identities, but just a lot of secrets and a lot of hiding things from different people that's being revealed as I go through this book, which I'm very much enjoying. And I've said before, there's a lot of like political tension between different people. I'm still not entirely sure who everybody is and which like sect almost everybody belongs to, but I'm having a good time finding out, and I'm not worried too much about like unraveling all the secrets because I'm never very good at predicting what's going to happen in a book anyway, and I'm just kind of along for the ride. But I'm very much enjoying this, and I'm glad that I finally got around to it. So that is this week's reading vlog wrapped up. I feel like it was not a very productive reading week as they go, but I did get a good way into the Jasmine Throne and I did finish the second Rebel, and I'm so excited for the third book in that series. It's out on, I want to say like the 4th of November, early November, so I've only got a couple of weeks to wait, and I think I'm going to have the audio for that as soon as it comes out so I can listen to it. So yeah, a slower reading week, but a reading week I've enjoyed nonetheless. I hope that you have enjoyed this reading vlog, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye!